Hey, this is Mike, and I had to make this video as a response to Eric's most recently posted video about, games and how they're kind of, I guess the way he put it is, there's no original ideas out there. So I had a lot of things to say, more than I wanted to put like in a, comment section. So I'm going to do this video real quick. So first off, I wanted to address, and you know what, and most of it is right. Most of what he says is right. So a lot of it's going to be siding with him, but I might come up with something, in argument to it. But anyway, so first I want to say that in regards to like PlayStation being the biggest culprit of this, I have to say, and as a Nintendo fan, I gotta blame Nintendo. Because Nintendo does take risks, yes, but it's mostly with their hardware. With their IPs, they very, very rarely take risks. They are the biggest company to just churn out the same crap over and over again with just very, very minor tweaks. I will admit that even as a huge fan of Nintendo, because their IPs are so strong, that you really do just want to keep going back to it and see what, even if it's just a little bit, what they offer in terms of new stuff, right? So I have been out of the PlayStation game for a long time. My last PlayStation console was the PS3, which I hardly played. I hardly have any games for. PlayStation in my eyes died when 2 died. But so I really can't say. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm just talking from my experience with Nintendo. I would just argue based on that no one could be shittier than them in this regard. But again, yeah, I could be dead wrong. Eric went on to talk a little bit about Steam and games that get posted on Steam, presumably by indie companies, that kind of thing, are really good. Sure, but you got to remember that even indie games are copied. So one of my absolute favorite games that started out as an indie game, that is now practically a household brand, Stardew Valley. It actually started out copying, ideas from games that were already released. As in, you got your, what do you call that? I don't know, there's that farming game on like Super Nintendo, Harvest Moon or something like that. And, Eric Baroni, the creator, actually, said that this was one of his inspirations. And I'm not saying really that he stole it. I'm saying that he, it was an inspiration and he improved on it. That would be the best thing to say about it. He improved on, the idea and made an amazing game. But once he put that out and people saw its success, look what happened. We've got tons and tons and tons of new cozy, quote-unquote, games to mimic, the mechanics and the feel and the idea of Stardew Valley. It's just so much out there, like you won't even believe it. Now, yeah, there are, differences, but, that branch out a little bit. But then as soon as one of those catch on a little bit, someone else is going to come in and copy that, right? Copy those ideas and add their own little tweaks. And it's just going to snowball into a giant puddle of shit, and then it's just going to be one big shit ball. That's how it kind of works. And for those of you that know me, I'm also a board gamer. You see the same thing in board games too. When one good game breaks out and, introduces mechanics that, other people have never seen before, others are going to latch onto that. That's just the nature of this kind of thing. It is really, really difficult nowadays to create something new, especially when you think of the sheer number of games that are out there, and the sheer number also of all the original ideas that have spawned from gaming. From the very beginning, if you trace everything back and you take out all the copies, right, of things that came after the greatest things that you could think of, and you line up all those starting points, you'll see that there's a lot of really good ideas there. But can you look at those and say, all right, what's missing? What is the key component here that no one has thought of, and just create something from there? It's extremely hard. I've looked into game design a little bit, as I was growing up, because I found it fascinating. Obviously, I've never pursued it, but both in terms of video games and board gaming, and it's crazy difficult. So this is the part where I get to, in their defense, they are trying their best, I feel. Now, individual developers to come up with ideas, some of them are trying their best. Of course, you got your developers who are just gonna who just want to make money fast, and they're just gonna latch on to whatever the most popular thing is for the time. Those people exist, but there are people that are genuinely trying to come up with something new, and it's gonna take some time before that happens. I mean, which is natural. Everything, if you were to graph this, we're at a point now where we're kind of leveling off, right? If like the 1985 or something, or 82 or whatever, was like the starting point of like really good games starting to come out, you could see, through the 90s, that like huge spike of game ideas and popularity and all that. Now, years and years and decades later, finally starting to level off, and that happens with anything. All right, so yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. That's my 2 cents. All right, I'd love to see some comments on this. This is a very interesting topic, so let's keep this conversation going. All right, y'all, peace.